would you describe your all's friendship and relationship?
Really unique how the relationship started. Had an opportunity to go to Minnesota with the Timberwolves and Flip Saunders, and Flip had played for my dad and was coach, part owner of the Wolves, and it would have been, really comfortable for me because I've known Flip for so long. And Johnny called. They called the same week, actually. Had never met Coach Jones. One of his assistants, David Patrick, who's now the head coach at Riverside, was a good friend of mine, or is a good friend of mine, and said, hey, just get on a plane to Baton Rouge, at least come have dinner with us. If nothing else, you wasted a flight from the Bay Area to Baton Rouge. And I just, really liked Coach Jones a lot, and sat down with the family, and we wanted to stay on the path of college coaching, and so passed up what could have been a really comfortable situation with the Timberwolves, and to go with Coach Jones, and it was awesome. I learned so much about recruiting the year that I was there at LSU, and so he's a really good friend. My wife is really good friends with his wife. My daughter's good friends with their daughter. John Jones Jr. played for us for a year at Nevada, so and then it branches out. I mean, Derek Syack is on staff with Texas Southern, and Brandon Chambers was our ops guy at Nevada, and now he's an assistant coach there. So, it's like an extended family now.
And then you hired him.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't happen often, where you're an assistant for a guy and then he's an assistant for you. But, we had an assistant coaching spot open at Nevada, and I wanted to hire a former head coach again because Dave Rice got an assistant's job with a lot better pay at Washington at the time, and just kind of begged Coach Jones to come and help me, and he did, and it worked out for him. That kind of springboarded him back to another head job at Texas Southern, and obviously my time at LSU helped springboard me to get a head job at Nevada. So, I really respect him as an X&O coach. I respect him as a man, as a father. He's like a mentor to me, even though he was, an assistant with us. I look at Coach Jones as a mentor in a lot of ways.
I wonder if you had a chance to hear Adriel and Mason's comments about you and the respect they have for you after the game the other day, for how you are on the practice floor and how you are on the game court. And then how important is it to get that respect early on for these players and from these players?
Yeah, I haven't. My wife made a comment the other day about, how positive their comments were. And, I think like with, anybody in life, they just, you just want consistency, whatever that approach is. I think the key with player-coach relationship is that that the player just thinks that you're trying to help them become as good a player as they possibly can. And certainly, that helps us become a better basketball team, the better that our individual players become. And with that comes getting them out of their comfort zone. And so, we do have intense practices, and obviously there's intensity during the game. But, the players' buy-in, one through every guy on our roster, has been really phenomenal since we've been here.
The last time I guess you and Johnny were in here together, you were on the LSU bench in that really wild game at the end of the 2015 season. And Johnny, he laughed, but he said the fans here should boo you because you dropped that three-point shot that Hornsby hit. Well, what do you remember about that game, and did you really drop the play?
Yeah, it was. I mean, that game probably got us into the NCAA tournament, quite frankly. And one of our better players was hurt, and it was a huge game for us, obviously. And I thought Coach did a great job that year of getting us ready to play in big games at West Virginia. We won a big game, and obviously here, two of the hardest places to win in college basketball. So it was a big win.
Did you drop the play?
I might have had a suggestion about it, but
Just what's the focus looking like for Texas Southern? What do they like to do? What are some things you might have to eliminate with them?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the roster, they have some transfers that have played at big programs. Eden Ewing played at Purdue, and Big Jethro inside played at Arizona State. He's an incredible shot blocker. His shot blocks per minute's off the charts. They got a Texas A&M transfer. They got some guys that are really talented, and I think the biggest thing is just like another opportunity to play against somebody that we feel could win their league. Another program that's made NCAA tournaments of late, and you look at their game at Baylor last year where they went into Baylor and won. You look at their game at Oregon where they won last year. We have to be ready to play tomorrow night for sure.
I guess Ewing didn't play their last game. Do you know, is he hurt, or do you know what his status is?
Not really sure what his status is. He wasn't on the trip with them, but you got to prepare for everybody on their roster. And their point guard can score the ball. He's quick. He's crafty with the ball. They run a lot of pick and rolls, so we have to have really good pick and roll defense as well.
I guess they played Wichita State very close. You're using that game as kind of a reminder to how good they can be?
Yeah, when we go through our preps today and film, we're going to stop the film throughout the course of what we're showing them, where they can see the score on the bottom, for them to see how close Texas Southern played. And Wichita State's a hard place to play and a really good team. So certainly we have tremendous respect, and we know they're going to be ready to play.
Coach, I know you said you'd update us whenever, but have you made a decision on Reggie Chaney and playing this week, or will that be a game time decision?
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to make a statement as early as tomorrow on Reggie's status, and see how quick Mike can type.
So, does that mean he's going to play?
Like I said, we're going to make us, we'll let everybody know.
Okay. I don't know why he announced he's not going to play. I mean, right? Okay. Hey, John Jones.
We might. You never know.
Yeah. You had him at Nevada. What kind of player is John Jones, Johnny's son?
Yeah. Obviously we had him when he was a freshman, and he can really shoot the ball. He's got deep range. He's a really confident player. Plays kind of a combo guard. Can play the one or the two. But he can shoot the basketball for sure. And he's got deep range, so we've got to make sure we do a good job of not losing sight of him. We've done a good job defending the three-point line. Certainly with John Jones Jr., we have to make sure we do that as well.
And Johnny said he really enjoyed playing Friends, but that I guess the Hoop Group or whatever the company is called put this, this exempt event together, matched up you guys. It's a good game for them. It's good money for them. They have to play a lot of these guarantee games. What are your thoughts about playing, Friend?
I'd prefer not to. Friday we got Todd Lee coming in, and Todd and I, Todd worked with us with the Rapid City Thrillers way back, and was an assistant at University of San Diego, so I met him many years ago. But a lot of the schedule was already done. We didn't schedule Texas Southern, and we didn't schedule South Dakota, because those guys are friends, and I would just prefer, to play somebody else. But the good thing is when you do play a friend, when the game is over, you're able to exchange ideas and thought processes. And the Montana staff, they have some guys on staff that are really good friends of ours, and some guys from the Bay Area that we're able to kind of give them feedback on what we saw with their team, and they gave us some great feedback on our team that kind of gives us a view or from a lens of an opponent and what they're trying to take away from us. And certainly when we're done playing Coach Jones on Wednesday, we're going to share ideas with their staff for sure, and I know come Saturday when we're done playing Coach Lee's team, we'll certainly share ideas. So I think there is some benefit to doing it, because certainly I want Coach Jones to win every game possible other than Tuesday night, and the same thing with South Dakota after our game with them on Friday.
You know, obviously San Diego State was in your old league, and they had to play there too. Even though they're 0-3, they played 3 pretty tough teams at their place. How prepared do you think they are to come in here when they've already played 3 road games?
Yeah, I think because they play so many road games in non-conference, because they play in so many big buildings and they play in front of good crowds, they're kind of immune to it. The guys that played last year know the euphoria, you know, they know the type of excitement that they can have with a big win. So, you know, I don't think that they'll be phased at all. It's a team that understands every year that they're going to play a lot of these non-conference games like this. So that's what makes them scary as well.
Maybe expect a bounce back game from Isaiah, just shooting the ball, and you don't figure that'll linger much longer.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was some of our guys, we want them to look at clips of you know, maybe all their misses they've had, not just one particular guy, but we've done that with 3 or 4 guys where they get to look at some of their shots that they've made, some of the shots that they've missed, try to figure out, you know, are they missing long, are they missing short, missing right, missing left? Are you shooting it off the bounce, or are they catching shoots? How close was the defense to you on your shot attempt? So all those things we're constantly trying to evolve as a staff with our guys and with our individual players. When a guy misses, you know, has some misses on a particular night, to build their confidence up and kind of for them to, you know, self-diagnose their own game. It's like a Major League Baseball hitter going in the back if he strikes out and taking a look at his at-bats. It's the same thing we want with our guys, you know, when they go through certain shooting slumps or off nights or whatever you want to call it. Thanks.
So got one on the Muffs bus. We're about to be joined here momentarily by Hallville.net's Kevin McPherson, and following Kevin McPherson, we'll have on Mark Edwards. We're going to get some scuttlebutt on what he's hearing as far as the Razorback coaching search and what type of coach should the Razorbacks really be interested in. All that's coming up. I want to real quick give a shout out to our sponsors, Lindsay and Associates, Locomotion, Corey Beck's Custom Painting, and KDK's Chicken. Let's get this thing rolling because I'm fired up and ready, and I know you are too. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it. Yeah, then I got one of Mason now.
You really hit the offensive boards too. You were playing a bigger guy. I think that guy Anderson was 6'8" or maybe 6'10" or something. But what'd you think about that? Maybe using your quickness to get more boards against him.
Yeah, that's what I did. I used my athletic ability, my quickness to to maneuver around him and try to get some offensive and defensive boards. I don't know. It's a double. I don't get me wrong. I'm excited that I got it, but I want it to be the first of many, not just one game.
Mason, where's your confidence level at? How much fun are you having? And Adrio, just your thoughts on.
Yeah, I can hear you barely.
My confidence.
Welcome back. It's our Tuesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jean Sports Talk Radio, and let's get things going. Let's wait no longer because it's a big day on the Hill, in particular for the Must Buses. He gets his first in-state big dog coming in. Devo is the next man on the list, so let's talk to our good buddy, Kevin McPherson of Hogfield.net. Kay, welcome to the Hill, my man.
Man, it's always good to be with you, Pat. Thank you.
Let's get off into this. You were at the signing day ceremony of Devonta Davis. Talk about just the excitement level that was in that gym, and just I know you had a chance to momentarily speak with Devo. Talk about that conversation and how excited that young man is to make his way.
He really is. He always wanted to be a Razorback, Pat. I mean, that was the thing. Even when he committed to Oklahoma State, his heart was with the Hogs. Arkansas gets a new coaching staff in, and we know there's 5 players ranked in that national top 100 in this state. A never before seen, unprecedented one-year class of guys that Arkansas has really been pursuing. We know that. But for Devonta Davis to be the only one of those players committed elsewhere, for him to come off that board in October and really within a couple of weeks get to know Eric Musselman, the staff, gone on campus, them coming to see him down in Jacksonville more than once. And then his commitment, I mean, it was whirlwind, but everything I've heard is that Musselman staff really like him. They clicked with him and vice versa. So he was the first high school player for this class to commit to Arkansas. Right. Now he's the first to make it official and sign, as he did that today on Eric Musselman's birthday, by the way. When I interviewed him just a few minutes ago, he said that it was a coincidence that he had talked to Muss about the day that he was going to sign. And Musselman said, well, that's my birthday. And so they had a good laugh about that and thought that was pretty cool. But, he's been courting these other in-state guys. Moses Moody, we know he committed roughly a couple of weeks ago. And actually on the 9th, not that long ago. And Davis has, been talking to him. Jalen Williams, KK Robinson are the next 2 guys are going to announce commitments. Jalen Williams on the 23rd, that's this Saturday. Right. And then KK next week on Thanksgiving Day is going to make his commitment announcement. Jalen's down to Arkansas and Auburn. KK's down to Arkansas and Kansas. But Devo said he's been doing the work, trying to convince these guys to be Hogs. And my personal opinion is they are going to commit to Arkansas. Now, Devo may end up being the only one, Pat, in this group. Right now with 2 committed, possibly 4 in the next week or so, to sign in the early period, as Moses Moody, Jalen Williams, and KK Robinson have all stated their preference to wait till the spring. So we got to keep an eye on that. Tomorrow, Wednesday the 20th, is the last day that you can sign a national letter of intent during the early period. And then you got to wait until mid-April, which is 6 months away for that spring period. So we'll see how this shakes out. But as far as Devonta Davis goes, Devo, he's a hog.
I thought, in my humble opinion, Devonta was the one guy that if, somehow, Muss and that staff could turn Devonta from Oklahoma State and bring him back to the home state school, with that being Arkansas, felt like it would really have a domino effect. Is this a young man that we could look back, years on down the road and say he was probably, if not the most important one of those guys to get this thing going?
Pat, I lost you. Cut out there for a second. I'm sorry.
I'm of the opinion that Devonta is probably the biggest recruit. The guy that has a chance to get this thing going. And my question to you, Kevin, was years on down the road, could this be where we look back at Devo and say he was a guy? Really, I know a lot of people give the yeoman's work of this national class to Moses, but Devo just has that different little it to it, don't you think?
Yeah, I think they're both important, but you know what? I think Devo being that first guy, somebody's got to do it, and he stepped up, and so, yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about it. And he's a very talented guy. ESPN ranks him the number 75 player in the country, a high-level 4-star. He's definitely one of the best big point guards, 6'4", long legs, long arms. He's a lefty. And he's quick for a guy that's got so much length. And he knows how to get to the basket, man. He's a big-time slasher, brilliant open court player, sees the floor. He's got plus court vision, so he can set teammates up and put them in good spots to finish, but he can get it done himself. A little streaky on that lefty shot from three. You know, when he gets he's been working on getting more trajectory on that ball, get some more arc on it. When he does, his shot seems to fall. When he kind of falls back on that and he gets a little flat again, that's when he struggles. But, you know, he's a young player. He's still working on his senior season here where he's going to iron some of that out, but a guy that can get it done, you know, he's also got the tools to be a good defender. And I think I've seen him have games where he's really locked in and makes a difference on that end of the floor, too. And that's, again, more consistency that he'll work on. But Arkansas is getting a really good player. You're right, a catalyst probably for a big class, but also a catalyst to making other guys better once he gets on the hill.
Now let's look ahead to the future. I know we're just 4 games in with the 5th game taking place tonight, but let's look ahead to this class. I know you have Moses Moody committed, Jalen Williamson. From everything I've heard, and I'm pretty sure what you've heard, he's going to be a Razorback. Say KK comes in. You get these 4 guys with what you have, J.D. Notae, Connor Vanover, 2 names that really stick out, and you throw them in on next year's roster. Look at this team, Kevin, and say you do get Isaiah Joe back. Let's play devil's advocate. How let's analyze what next year's team could possibly look like, and how far or what type of run could they make in 2021.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about those specific players coming back and getting, and let's say they get the rest of all 4 of these Arkansas kids that are, obviously Chris Moore's gone, but the other 4, this is a team. I mean, right now you look at they're one of the best teams in the country defensively with not a lot of depth and maybe not a lot of versatility on that front line. Now you're bringing in a Connor Vanover and a Jalen Williams who have size and skill on the perimeter. And you're talking about more guards that are high level with what Arkansas, even if they bring back to it, a couple of guys in that 2 or 3 guys in that backcourt they already have, and J.D. Notae and add him. I mean, that's, I think the talent is there to even dream of a Sweet 16 or beyond. I think the talent and the pieces are there, especially with Coach Musselman being the X factor with his X's and O's, preparation, scouting, all the stuff we're already starting to see pay some dividends. I think the pieces are there to start thinking about second weekend in this way tournament. Now, there's a lot of stuff that's got to happen. Right. We don't know about all those personnel pieces, but just dreaming ahead like that, kind of daydreaming about that, and some of those guys you mentioned coming back or being there, that's the kind of roster I could see doing that.
Now let's reel it back in, and let's talk about tonight's ball game. It was announced through a media release to us here in the local area that Reggie Chaney has been reinstated. Will be back for tonight's ball game. Throw Reggie in there tonight versus Texas Southern. I mean, like I said, they've defended really well. Before Reggie went out, it was quite obviously he was one of the top big scorers on this team as far he shot the ball real well from around that that basket. Talk about how much will he help this ball club in tonight's ball game, and do you think Muss will give him a lot of minutes, or will that just how do you think he'll use Reggie tonight?
That is a really good question. He's obviously cleared to come back. That was announced just a little while ago. Missed the first 3 games. I mean, I really think Arkansas needs this guy to have any chance in an NCAA tournament this year. Adriel Bailey's done a great job inside, but it's going to take more than him as Arkansas works through the schedule and the competition gets tougher, especially SEC play. But Reggie Chaney's a guy that's his per 40-minute numbers last year were really, really good. Arkansas, again, shallow front line, short on size, end up. He's got to be someone they can count on. So really it's about embracing his opportunity as a college basketball player. I think his minutes are going to be based on what Musselman sees day in and day out in practice, what he's doing off the floor, and then when he gets on the court, he's going to make it count. Last year, even though his per 40-minute numbers were really good, he had some really good games. Some of his struggles were picking up fouls quickly, turning the ball over, happy feet, maybe moving to the wrong spots. So we need to see maturity both as a player on the court, how he handles things off of it. I think his minutes will be there as long as he's taking care of business, because Arkansas needs him. They need him, and we'll see tonight how much run he gets. I'm interested to see that. Is there any rust there? He's been practicing with the team. There shouldn't be, but anytime you get to real game and game speed, Pat, that's different. Also, Arkansas has been playing well with what they've had. Let's see how he gets worked into that rotation.
Well, hey, as always, my man, I'll see you at the press row tonight. I believe you'll be driving up for the ball game, won't you, Kevin?
Heading up. I'm leaving Jacksonville from the Debo signing and coming straight up.
All right, man. Have safe travels, and I look forward to fellowshipping with you at Bud Walton this evening. But as always, my man, thanks for taking time out here on OTH.
Thanks, Pat. See you tonight.
All right.
Thank you.
That was Kevin McPherson of AR Hoops and also Hogville.net giving us the 411. They got a big one came in on the Must Bus. Devo's the first of hopefully many in-state and in the future big-time prospects making their way to the Hill. But we're going to take a quick break. We caught up with head women's basketball coach following their big win on Sunday, Mike Neighbors. Let him tell you just how this ball club is playing. They're also ranked number 20 as the new AP poll came out on the women's collegiate basketball side with the Razorbacks at number 20. And then following that, Mark Edwards. Let's talk a little coaching search. What is going on the Hill? And what does he think, Hunter? What type of move he'll make? All that's coming up. It's on the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Back in a bit.
Best we played for a period of time. Maybe not the full stretch of it. We tried some new combinations, but the best team we've played, and for a minute, for about 4 or 5 minutes in the second quarter, as good as we could play.
We'll start there. I mean, when you have a stretch of 5 minutes, 4.5 minutes where you made 8 straight and just really blew them out at that point.
Starting with Rowe making a tremendous baseline pass to a wide open Amber. And that got Amber one going. And if you let her get one, if you let her see one go in, if you'll notice we ran two straight set plays for her because if she sees one, there's liable to be 2 more behind it. And then that set up Chelsea's step out, which need to get her going from the arc, and she got an open one and made it. So it blew open a close game. I don't know what the score was at that point in time, but you look up and it's 20 all of a sudden, and that completely changes their halftime.
Well, we talked to Amber and Chelsea about the drives and drawing fouls early. Did that lead to the open threes?
Compounding effect. That's that accumulation of, I love that new stat on these stat sheets. It's the FD, fouls drawn. That has become something that we are very, very cognizant of at all times because now you got their best player had 2 fouls just real quick. That changes how you got to play defensively. And that opens up the 3 and, our motto of making them wrong. If they want to flood the bank.
Welcome back. It's our Tuesday edition here on the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk on KDSJ 479. And real quick, want to give a shout out to our sponsors as this would not be possible without you all. That being Lindsay and Associates with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers. Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Beck's Custom Painting, residential, commercial, anything you need to look good. Contact Corey Beck. And lastly, KDK's Chicken. It's located at 989 Razorback Road. And like they say, it's not your mama's. The best chicken and waffles in the South. But let's continue on with today's great show. And we want to spice it up. There's a big time, probably the most important hire in the history of Arkansas Razorback football that Hunter Yurachek has to make. And we want to get the scuttlebutt throughout the state. And, I always got to go to my buddy and see what he's got to say. Mark Edwards of Marked Up. Mark,
man,
OTH, my man.
Man, I appreciate it. I'm man, I've been going back and forth on this one. I think I heard the name Gus, but I personally think Mike Leach. I think Gus is going to survive. If he loses the Iron Bowl, probably won't survive at Auburn.
Right.
But, then if the Iron Bowl goes Alabama's way, then you might have a shot. But I just personally think, man, I'm just a Mike Leach fan. Coached Tim Couch when he was offensive coordinator at Kentucky under Hal Mumme. So I really think he's got a good shot, or at least that's a starting spot.
When you look at Mike Leach, you've heard names as far as Norvell. You've heard Matt Campbell, Lane Kiffin, a guy that I'm kind of a proponent of giving a shot at it is Sam Pittman. I think Sam is a big-time head coach in waiting. Even though he's not been a Division I head coach, still has that in his junior college background. But, when you look at all these candidates, Mark, what do you think the main thing when they look at the Arkansas job for whomever the coach is going to be? Well, what do you think that main ingredient that he's going to look for before he decides to take this position?
Man, definitely gonna have to be time and talent. I mean, how much time it would take him to learn things and the talent, what he's got on campus,
Right.
that he can work with. That's why I think a Mike Leach or Gus Miles, people keep throwing Gus' name around. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but I don't know why people keep throwing Mike Norvell's name around. Listen, that guy he got game day to come to Memphis. He's never gonna have to buy a drink at a bar in Memphis.
Good point.
He's building his legacy, man. He don't want to leave that.
Right.
Go somewhere where he's gonna have to, he's gonna have 2 years to win, or else.
Right.
It didn't take him 2 years to win at Memphis. They didn't have any expectations, so he could take all the time he needed.
Mark, when you look at this, and I want to piggyback off what you just said, the 2 years, a 100-year check. He didn't hire Chad, which, in his defense, that has to be taken into account. But 22 games into his program, he was let go. Some say it might have been premature. Some on the other side of the fence say, it was inevitable. How damaging is that? For Hunter when he goes out and tries to attract some of the nation's elite assistant coaches, OCs, or potential head coaches, with the fact that it was so quick on pulling the trigger on Chad?
I see it a different way, man. Listen, I mean, I related to dating. I've gone out with some great girls, and after about 6 months, I just knew it wasn't working.
Right.
I mean, you can stay in, you can have us stick around if you want to, but you already know it's not working.
Right.
So I don't necessarily think it did any damage, because some people have time, and even coaches know with their egos. Coaches know when things are turning around. They know when they got things working. So it's not like they don't know. And he knew
right
that it wasn't going in the right direction. So I don't necessarily like to use that as an excuse that, it's too soon. I think he given it the old college try, and it just didn't work.
I'm of the belief, and when I say this, my producer Demetrius and I've talked about it about town with the phrase Arkansas is going to have to buy themselves out of this situation. And what I mean by that, it's not on the illegal side, but allowing the next head football coach at Arkansas to have the financial budget to go out and hire some of the elite coaches in all of college football, be it whatever conference they're in. I just feel like that's, where Arkansas has fallen short. I mean, they've lost so many coaches. Go back and
you won't keep them.
And you talk about Coach Pittman. I mean, you lose Coach Pittman for about $250,000. With the, I looked at some of the coaching budgets for assistant coaches across the SEC, and I looked at Georgia's in particular. $450,000, I believe, was the lowest paid assistant coach. How important is that, for Arkansas and this next head coach, for him to be able to have the type of, budget there to attract some of the nation's elite coaches?
Well, you got to do that, and I think you mentioned a name a minute ago, Sam Pittman. Some friends and I were actually talking about this. Pittman's a great recruiter, man, and I think he's got to get some sort of experience before he gets to that. Before he gets a job like Arkansas, because we should be tired of being the ones that everybody take a chance on. So what I was thinking is maybe you hire somebody, a big name somebody, and say, hey, you name the coach in waiting. We'd like for it to be Sam Pittman.
Right.
Then you can get both of them,
Right.
That would be, in a best case scenario, that would be awesome. But, we're all just wishful thinking. I don't know that the budgets are going to matter when it comes to the assistants, because you'll lose them if they win. They're gonna hit Splitsville anyway.
Right.
I mean, Bielema's guys were always rolling out of here.
When you look at
including Pittman.
Talking with Mark Edwards, of the host of the Marked Up podcast. Let's go to Hunter Yurchek. How important is it for Hunter? I mean, you always talk about there's defining hires and fires in your tenure as an athletic director. How big is this for Hunter going forward? Because, I mean, if he doesn't get this right, we're sitting here having the same conversation, having to let another coach go 22 games in. I mean, Could we have a historical thing that's never happened in a 4-year period? Fire 3 coaches and 2 ads, and is that something? I mean, how important is this for HY?
He's got to get it right. And I said this with when Jeff Long was in this spot. I said Jeff's got to get it right. First, he got to be available. See how that went. But of course, Jeff was gone. But he's got to get it right, because this is who's going to steer the ship
right
for the next few years. So you got to put the right ball in motion and get the right guy. And a lot of times, man, sometimes you have to restart the program. You're going to have to show recruits how serious you are. That's why I'm not a big proponent of going out, getting some up and coming coach right now, because you got to show recruits how serious you are.
Right.
We should be blown past the let's go find somebody with good energy and good coach and bring him in here, give him the old college handshake. And we have to get past that. We need to show recruits how serious we are and go get. Now, let me show you what a fantasy thing would be. Find a way to get Robert Stoops come out of retirement. Tell him Sam Pittman's going to be his coach in waiting. So Pittman's going to want to stay.
Right.
He's going to want to get back into SEC for a little bit, mix it up a little bit. And then when he leaves, he hands the keys to a nice little Maserati.
Now, when we talk about recruiting, Mark, I think the biggest thing, and I've heard from multiple coaches around the FCC, the biggest and most attractive thing that this job will have is that freshman class. If the majority of those young men remain here, I mean, that's a pretty good foundation when you talk about Traylon Burks, Trey Knox, KJ Hudson, Monte Spivey, and a host of great defenders that got a lot of experience on the defensive side of the ball. How do you feel like in that same breath that this freshman class is what most of those coaches are watching to make sure these kids are on campus? Because that's going to be a pretty solid foundation, kind of like a Bobby Petrino was able to have the Joe Adams bulk of that class hang around.
And I remember they were leaving. Joe Adams was going to USC. The Warren kids were going somewhere else too, because I know all of their parents.
Right.
So they were all leaving. Everybody was leaving until Petrino got the gig. So it's very important. That's why I said Hunter's got to get the right guy, and somebody that's going to take that team, that just take the base what you have and move it.
Right.
That's why I think a Mike Leach, not a Mike Norvell, but a Mike Leach, is probably going to be able to do. He could take that foundation and build on it because it's good enough. That's all he needs. He can set up a few things, put a few things in place that'll stop you bleeding your offense, get some respect, and then you just work on the defensive side of the ball. You'll have some experience next year. Curl, those guys will have a little bit of experience next year. But, man, you got to stop the leak because people don't take you serious. It's strange how we were running the RPO and we weren't even doing the R. The craziest thing to me. Starkle never kept the ball.
Right.
Never. Why would that scare anybody?
Mark, I want to talk to you now that's switching gears to basketball. 4 games into the Eric Musselman era here at the University of Arkansas. What are some of the things that have stuck out to you about this year's 2019-2020 version of Razorback basketball?
Man, honestly, it's 2 things: defense and recruiting. The names that you're attracting, the defense that you're playing. I think the rest of that shakes itself out in time.
Right.
Usually when there's a new coach, new blood, new team, it's like getting a new bike. You like the new bike. It's shiny, it's wheels, everything looks good. And then at some point something breaks off and then we start going, man, something's wrong with this bike.
Right.
But so for me, I think that the way that the defense is playing, the amount of points they're not giving up, and the attention that they're attracting. I mean, you got Moses Moody. That's pretty good. I've noticed since he was a kid. I went to school with his mom and dad, and so that was pretty big.
Right.
I know last December when I saw his dad, talk to his dad for about 45 minutes, Arkansas was not on the radar. So you got that. A couple other kids that you got the potential to get. I know the Board kid, then West Memphis leaving and going to Auburn was a little bit of a stinger. It's a little bit of a shock too.
Right.
But you got the nucleus there that you can build on, and you got some new kids coming in that are pretty good to keep that program rolling.
Well, my man, love having you on. What's the latest marked up podcast that our viewers and listeners can prepare to listen for, Mark?
Man, I had Wes Moore on, Fox 16 sports director, good friend of mine. We worked together at THV. So when we were in Little Rock and had him on, we had some great stories, talked about some old NCAA stuff. But Todd Day coming up in less than a little over a week. Podcast, and listen, that's going to end season 1. I'll have a few things going on in December, but the new season will start at the end of January. We already got a great list of people lined up to do the show for season 2. But Todd Day is the one. It's going to make you. That podcast will make you mad. It's going to make you laugh. It'll make you cry. And it's going to make you mad again.
All tied up into one podcast. Well, I'm looking forward to checking it out, man. And I always look forward to having you take time out here on OTH, my man.
All right. Appreciate it.
All right. Okay. That was Mark Edwards of the Marked Up Podcast Show. He's got a big one coming up, he says, Demetrius. And I'm going to be checking out this Todd Day one. But, want to kick in before we end today's On the Hill broadcast here on KDSJ and bring in my co-host. Hearing Mark and some of his ideas, Demetrius, for the head football coach. What did you take from his insight? I mean, because he's a guy down in the Little Rock area, maybe not as close to it as us, but he's real in the know. But so what were some of your takes as to what, the pulse of pretty much people around the state are looking for?
I think the feeling is everybody sees potential in the team. Regardless of the coach, I think people see that the Razorbacks is not they're not as bad as their current their current
status,
stats or season overall win or loss record. It does not equate to the talent that's on the team. And what I'm hearing from a lot of people is they see the potential. It just needs the right guy to kind of steer that ship right, add a couple of more pieces, and then you're talking about a contending Arkansas team. And I think really what it boils down to is, does Arkansas want to contend or do they want to compete for championships? And I think that's going to be the difference setter for whatever coach they go get, whether it's Mike Leach, whether it's Sam Pittman. I think the coach that they're going to get is either going to keep them in a mediocre status or they're going to actually take this team and going to elevate Arkansas to a position that only Bobby Petrino was able to get into. And I think that's, if the next coach that does that will really get really get a hard struggle off of Arkansas' shoulders, because they want to be so great in football again. I think it's a good job. I don't know what Yurchek is going through his mind right now, but I think whoever inherits this team, they're going to inherit a lot of potential. And
absolutely,
if they can just get a staff that can do some fundamental things and get a couple of more recruits, man, I can see these guys really competing on a high level.
So yeah, I see this team kind of going back to the days. I think the fans of the program will get back to those Hatfield, Coach Nutt era years where you knew Arkansas was going to get anywhere from 8 to 10 wins. But, I'm of the belief that this program can go high. I mean, with the right coach, with the right energy in the coach and the coaching staff, I mean, it's got a lot of the nicer facilities throughout the SEC, a great financial support base. If given the right coaching staff and they're happy, I think that's just the way it is here at Arkansas. Let's just call it like we see it. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, if you can financially support your athletic program by having some very fortunate boosters, then so be it. I mean, that's an extra for you. But I do think I think it's going to be an out of the box hire. I'm hearing the Mike Leach, but I'm like, hadn't really seen how far he can really take a program. I know he's one of those guys who'll get you that 7 to 9 wins, but I think Arkansas should be, with them being in the SEC West, they've got to think higher than that. And it's going to take money to buy, for the head coach, I still believe, to be able to go out and attract and hire the best recruiters, coaches / developers of talent if you want to ever make a run at the collegiate playoffs and be one of those that kids, when they think about college football programs, your name, your school will pop up in those first 4 or 5 thoughts as potential destinations for young men. But Also, too, want to give a shout out as we're about to wrap up today's show. Before that, we caught up yesterday or on Sunday with juniors, Chelsea Dungy and junior guard as well, Amber Ramirez, and got their thoughts on their big victory, their 30-point victory on Sunday versus Stony Brook. So here's what they had to say, and then we'll come back and we'll close this thing out. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Back in a minute.
Can you talk about the last 5 minutes of the half? I mean, where I think you made your last 8 shots. I mean, pretty incredible.
Yeah, I think we started off, I wouldn't say slow, but it's not the start that we usually have. Coach kind of just told us we got to pick up the energy, make sure we play like we normally play. And I just think that really helped us into the last 5 minutes of the first half.
Yeah, and Amber had the hot hand the whole game. And we're going to feed it to her every time she's open. So she had came down and hit, I think, 2 or 3 in a row. Swung it to me. I had hit one. Michaela hit one. And, it's just hard to guard a team when we play inside out. And I think that we drove it a lot at the beginning. And they started backing off, and that allowed us to have those wide open threes.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was going to ask. It seemed like you guys were able to get to the line, didn't make them all, but you got to the line off the drive early. Did that give you some open looks later?
I think it definitely did. Being able to get to the basket, that's like quite often drew the defense in. I think they changed their game plan a little bit, and they sagged off of some really good shooters, and we made them pay for it.
You feel like that? You were saying a slow start. I mean, does it just take a while to get to the flow of the game?
Sometimes, yeah, but the last couple games when we've come out and just been so hot from the field, and I think these one of the games it just happens. I mean, we picked up where we left off coming into the end of the first quarter, into the second quarter.
I think we're good.
Oh. Can I see that?
Watch it now. Welcome back. It's our Tuesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, and that's going to wrap up our Tuesday edition of OTH, brought to you by KDSJ 479. Just felt real good about today's show. I want to give a thank you to our guest, Mark Edwards of the Marked Up Podcast. You can catch that upcoming one with Todd Day. You don't want to miss it, I'm telling you. And we also talk big-time recruiting as the must-buts starts to get them reeled in. They're coming in with the 20 class signature of Devonta Davis. They call him Devo around the state of Arkansas, and he's going to be a big one in the future. I want to give a thank you to Kevin McPherson for coming on and giving us the update live and up close and personal from Jacksonville, Arkansas, where Devo had his big-time ceremony. Until tomorrow, I want to let everybody know that on the Hill, we will be at tonight's big ball game as the Arkansas Razorback men's hosting the Texas Southern Ball Club at Bud Walton Arena on Nolan Richardson Court. Also, too, want to make everyone know that have just tuned in, Reggie Chaney, sophomore forward, will be reinstated, and you'll see him tonight on the court at Bud Nolan Richardson Court tonight versus Texas Southern. We'll have all post-game updates, post-game interviews will be posted on our webpage. Also, too, on our YouTube stream if you want to find out just what the thoughts are following the ball game. And then I may give you my thoughts live from Bud Walton Arena as well at Nolan Richardson Court. I like the sound of that, Nolan Richardson Court. But that's going to wrap up today's show. Until tomorrow, from myself and from my producer, Demetrius Johnson, to you all, it's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. You guys have a blessed one, and let's get it.